There are pressing matters here. Lots of questions. I'm going to start with this one. Was the Will Howard appearance in some ways more impressive than Allar? And the reason I say that is because there was so much hype about Howard. He hadn't played a competitive snap of football since the national title game 2 years ago. And while I don't want to draw conclusions from his performance, for him to come in and deliver like that at the end of the half, in some ways, for me, was even a bigger story than Allar. What do you think of that?
I mean, he was playing theoretically against tougher competition, but I also think he had more rough moments on the two other drives. So there's give and take. I did think the drive was very impressive. I thought the throw he made up the seam to Tunyon was probably a better throw than any throw Allar made, which, I mean, it's fine. Allar made the layups, and he made them look good. But I thought that was a really impressive throw, and I thought you saw him look calm and collected on that drive. I do need to see more of both of them. I think Allar just doing what he did, 3 drives, 3 touchdowns, make the layups look like layups. I thought that was such a big thing for Drew Allar because it hasn't been easy at training camp. He's been so scattershot underneath it in the intermediate that I thought that was a really big thing for him. Where, I'm not sure that Howard's performance was more impressive because I did think there were some rough moments on the 2 other drives where, some pressure got to him, and I thought his footwork kind of then went awry. But I did think Howard looked pretty good. And that 2-minute drive, I think, probably was the most impressive drive in the entire football game, from my perspective, just in terms of a command, a ball placement standpoint, everything about that. So I don't hate that take of saying if there was going to be one drive you would take from the whole game, that would be the drive, because I did think it was a really impressive one.
All right, I have some very pointed questions for you. The first one is this. Did you see enough, even in that environment, from Allar and Howard to make you want to move on from Mason Rudolph?
So I thought Howard looked good in the game. I don't think he's had like a substantially great camp. That's the one thing that has always made me a little bit tentative to jump on that train. And I like what Will Howard's done over the last week and a half or so, where the accuracy's shown up. I think he's looked more accurate. So I do think that he's done stuff to close the gap, but I'm not fully there to where I would be comfortable yet if I needed a spot start saying I would take number 18 over number 2. And I don't think it's totally just because of Will Howard. It's also because Mason Rudolph's had a really solid camp, I think, overall, and it's kind of showcased what he could be and what he is. But I also think Allar has taken some strides over camp where I think he has been scattershot at times, but I also think you see the great throws, and I think you start to see the easy stuff look easier. I think that's the real key with him is, can I just trust him to throw a 10-yard in? I mean, Can I trust him to throw that route to Weegan every single time, right where he put it, to make Weegan have the ability to have that yak after the catch? I just haven't seen him do that consistently at camp. So, I don't think right now I'm at the spot where I'd be ready to totally move on from Rudolph. Now, if you offer me a 5th-round pick, would I do it? Probably. But I do think Howard has made strides over the last week and a half to say, okay, we're starting to get there. He still has a whole another week, 2 games to get this done. To showcase he's continuing to grow, because I thought he started out at camp rough and he's grown momentum over this year with the game, the practices. He's continued to kind of put up good days. So I am getting to a point where I think I could start to say, okay, I'm comfortable with Will Howard, but I'm not quite there just yet.
All right. So how do you think the Steelers in the end are going to handle this? 4 quarterbacks or get rid of either Howard or Rudolph?
I've done the roster building. It's just hard to fit 4 on. I just don't see how you cut, from some position groups. There's too many good players at too many different spots. So I think 3. And so I think it's going to be one of Howard or Rudolph, probably out of here.
What about a fake injury?
Traded. Sure. I mean, they could do that. They could keep 4 on the initial and then put someone on the IR. I don't think that's crazy. They did that last year. Skylar Thompson made the initial 53 along with Will Howard, and they put Will Howard on IR. They could do that. So that's a route. But if they aren't going to do fake injury stuff, if they aren't going to kind of game the system in some way, I think one of Howard or Rudolph makes this roster. I don't think it's going to be both of them. I understand the argument for it. But man, it's a hard thing to do from roster construction that I'm thinking of right now. When I've gone through 53, I don't know. I guess right now where we're standing on August, 18th?
Yeah.
It makes sense that, if I were doing a 53-man roster projection, because there's no clear direction one way or the other to me for a Rudolph or a Howard argument, they're kind of so close right now that you could keep 4. But every time I've done that, I leave myself short at a position. And so I think that's something that continuously draws me back. So we'll see. But I think one of them is probably out of here by the end of training camp in the preseason.
Okay. Let's get into the contracts then. Limits, did you have a quarterback question?
Yeah, I do. Nick, what do you think of the idea that I have? I mean, Allar is their golden boy that Mike McCarthy drafted. Why not have him start the game this upcoming Friday against some of the Jets starters? Or even Will Howard for that case?
I mean, I didn't get the argument because I think you do need to see these guys against first-team opportunities, right? We saw Mason Rudolph do it, so all right, we need to compare Will Howard and we need to see Drew Allar, I think, against both those units too. So I'm not against seeing Will Howard start either. I'd like to see all 3 of them get a shot to start a game, especially because it just doesn't seem like Aaron Rodgers is going to play with Pittman and Metcalf down. So here's the thing, when we talk about Allar, I thought he did such a good job, but it was also against third stringers that might not even make the practice squad. And so I do think that has to be taken into consideration until you do it against guys that are going to play and have roles on football teams. It's hard to fully buy into it. So that could easily be smoke and mirrors. And so I'm not against the idea, Bechtold. I don't know if I'd do it this week against the Jets. I think I'd probably lean towards Howard getting that opportunity if there were one, and then putting Allar out there to start against Buffalo up in Buffalo. That's kind of what I would do. But I get the argument and I get the idea. It's, okay, if you're going to make this truly a competition, then all 3 of them should get a shot against the highest level of competition to compare. Because Mason Rudolph, I know he didn't get a touchdown drive. Did not look that bad, in my opinion, on Thursday. So I would like to see what Will Howard and Drew Allar would look like there, because I think you saw Mason Rudolph look like a competent backup. He drove the team 99 yards, basically, down the field. They didn't get a touchdown, but he drove that team down the field, made some plays with his legs, creating the Bernard almost touchdown. There were a few really nice plays from Mason Rudolph. So I want to see Will Howard and Drew Allar to compare those guys for sure.
Nick Farabaugh, PennLive.com, joining us. Fan Twitter brought to you by South Hills Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Route 19 in Peters Township, and the Fan Text Line brought to you by Edgar Snyder and Associates, a personal injury law firm where they always say there's never a fee unless we get money for you. Nick was a legendary youth football player, at least so I hear. 93.7 The Fan will showcase a different community each Saturday through the Youth Football Showcase with a special visit from members of the Fan staff. You want the Fan to visit your game? Email usports@937thefan.com with your group name, main contact info, potential dates, details available at 937thefan.com now. You were a youth football player, yes, Nick?
Yes, at some point in my life, I was a youth football player.
Were you a nose tackle, fullback? What were you?
Guard.
Yeah.
Guard and a DN. They actually put me in base DN, not nose, believe it or not. So
not in the sub packages?
We didn't run nickel. You think we ran a nickel package? No, we didn't, sir.